Good day, welcome to the Automotive Dad and welcome to the 2025 Genesis GV70. Now, the GV70 has been around for a couple of years. In its early formation, you would have seen this as an internal combustion engine car, but more recently, Genesis have said, well, hey, let's make this something different. So this is the GV70 Electrified. This has 490 PS, 700 Newton meters of torque, and this specific car also costs about £77,000, but with a 77 kilowatt hour battery and a range in the summer of a realistic, genuinely realistic 280 miles. Is this potentially the best electric family car you can buy? Is this better than any Tesla on the market? Well, let's dive in and have a look. So starting with the outside, aesthetically, this stands out among a bunch of other electric cars at the chargers because stylistically, this is very bold. It looks expensive. It looks very cool. The Genesis wings on the bonnet, nice big grille. The whole front end looks really cool. Finished in Mauna red. It's a lovely deep red color. And on the front end, it all just looks very conventional and normal. And even this is hidden away so that it's not glaringly an EV. I just think the whole front end is really well put together. Side profile wise, this is equally as sleek and nicely put together. The lines flow beautifully from the front, these headlights, all the way to the rear tail lights. There's lovely cut-ins. It's just really sleek and nicely done. These 20-inch powder-coated alloy wheels don't even look big because it's such a beefy design. But trust me, they are. And being 265s, incredibly wide to help you get the power down. As an overall, the side profile equally looks very, very cool. The back end is simplistic in the best way possible, in that besides a lovely light cluster, there's not too much information going on. In fact, to even find the button to open the boot, it's hidden here. Instead of it being hidden here to give you dirty fingers or putting it somewhere garishly in the middle of the rear boot door, it's hidden away up there. The back end is just a nice end of what looks to me like perfect aero design. Because honestly, the lines that sweep through this car are great. Aesthetically, this is a massive, massive win for me. It looks amazing. The inside is where you suddenly notice the luxury of this car. Because genuinely, when you step inside, you are presented by a hugely luxurious interior with comfortable seats, a nice seating position, a 14-inch infotainment display. The Lexicon speaker system in this car is among the best I've ever heard in any car. They have a nice mix of actual real buttons and screens. When you put this up against competitors in the market, to make their cars affordable within their price bracket, they have to make cuts here and there. Whereas Genesis haven't really made any cuts because the interior is just comfortable, well put together and nicely designed. These seats are incredibly holding, incredibly comfortable. You've got massage seats that you can have on constantly all the time. When you're driving, everything is at your fingertips, from regenerating your braking style to changing something on your display. There is a heads-up display which gives you bundles of information. Everything is here and within reach. The cabin design is just nice. You get in and it's a happy place to be. It's not boring. It's well thought out, and I appreciate that because this week I did obscene miles in it, and at no point did I not want to be in the car, even though you spend a lot of time charging, because ultimately I can't just drive 600 miles in this car in one go, not that I would anyway in a normal car, but you spend time at charging stations, an hour here or there, and the interior never got boring. But now let's go to the back. Rear seat wise, there is relatively ample space for all of your car seat goodness and bundles of technology to keep your kids occupied, from your buttons for heated seats to controlling your temperature control back here. There are actual plug sockets back here to keep their tablets charged up. Now, Actually fitting car seats in this car was an absolute breeze because so many luxury car manufacturers say, okay, we're going to have ISOFIX points, but we're going to cover them in leather and hide them away. Like in my Jag, to get it in, you have to contort your fingers and basically end up taking skin off your knuckles to fit the ISOFIX points. But this has been well designed into the seat so that it just kind of clicks in. You do have to keep in mind that a 360 spin ISOFIX seat is slightly bigger and bulkier, so your passenger seat or your driver's seat does need to keep that in mind. So for instance, if you had one of those behind the driver's seat, you'd probably have to turn comfort access off, because comfort access puts the seat back a little bit too far and you'll end up hitting the seat. But if you just leave it in your standard driving position, it's not an issue in the slightest. And then if you go for normal forward-seated R129 seats, it's not an issue at all anyway. There is a reasonable amount of headroom back here for when the kids are a bit bigger or you're taking your friends out or this or that. The quality in the front of the cabin is reflected back here. It's just as comfortable back here as it is in the front. So well thought out. Now, the only area which kind of came as a tiny bit of a letdown to me was the boot, and let me show you why. Whilst there is actually a fair amount of space in here, ultimately, it's not the biggest boot in the world. The lip is quite high to get stuff in. However, if you're just talking about normal prams, it's not an issue. But if you're talking about bassinet-based prams, you're going to be slightly more restricted. Not impossible, but it just means that a lot of your boot's going to be taken up by it. And that is simply because this is an SUV and there's drivetrain and there are batteries. I understand why it is. It's just that literally of the entire car, this is the only bit that only slightly let me down. I could still fit all of my normal work stuff in here, and when I have the kids and I have prams and bags and stuff, it was never an issue. But there are bigger options in the competitor segment if boot size is your requirement. But if boot size isn't the be-all and end-all for you, then this is looking pretty peachy. So let's talk dynamics, let's talk drive. This car has 490 PS, 700 Newton meters of torque. That torque is accessible pretty much straight away, especially if you hit the boost button, which gives you 9 seconds of absolute maximum performance. But this car also weighs 2.2 tons, so really that should be a bit of a problem. However, somehow, it isn't. Somehow Genesis have made this car feel sprightly, dynamic. In corners, it doesn't feel its weight in the slightest. It's a really lovely thing to drive, be it driving smoothly, carefully and economically, or throwing this into a corner. Either way, it feels good to drive. Now, from said economy point of view, you're realistically looking at about 2.5 miles per kilowatt hour around town on a normal day with everything on. But find yourself on a longer run, you're going to go closer to 3 miles per kilowatt hour, which is good. Turn off some extras, like if it's warm enough and you don't need the heat on, you're going to start seeing 3.5 miles per kilowatt hour, which is just unfathomable from a big car. A 2.2 ton electric car with electric everything here, there and everywhere. That's pretty impressive. Now, I've been charging this at Tesla superchargers this week because I don't have a home charger and I don't want to pay Instavolt prices, 85p per kilowatt hour. The Tesla ones for $8.99 a month came in at 40 pence per kilowatt hour. But it also gave me a chance to speak to Tesla owners, which got me talking to a Model Y owner, because realistically the Model Y was the closest comparison to this car. Although it's technically closer to a GV60, it's also pretty close to a GV70. And the range which he was getting, on average, was 2.5 miles per kilowatt hour on the exact same drive cycle that I was getting 3.3. Well, wait a minute, that's quite impressive. Have Tesla finally been dethroned as the economy kings? Potentially. But what I do know is that this car doesn't drive like what you expect an electric car to drive like. It moves as quick as an electric car, but in corners it doesn't feel silly. The steering doesn't feel disconnected, the throttle is rapid, and the brakes feel good. It's well thought out as a drive point of view. And then you come to the technology that this car has to help you drive. Your blind spot monitors, your surround view monitors, your everything is at your fingertips and is easy to use. And then if you're on the motorway and you're feeling a bit tired, not so tired that you couldn't drive, but you just like to have a bit of a break, this car can literally almost drive itself. Keeping itself in lanes, you indicate, it will change lanes for you. It has bundles of tech. It drives really well. It's incredibly well thought out. This is a car that's bundled with tech. It's lovely to drive. From a cost point of view, to run, it's reasonable. And the performance, and I cannot stress this enough, as I'm just going onto a slip road to join onto a dual carriageway, I make a point of going onto boost mode. I'm at 20 miles an hour now. 30, 40, 50, 60, 70. Yeah, this does not hang around. I mean, driving like that does absolutely nothing for your economy, but it's very impressive. This is a car which would probably quite easily lose your driving license because it gets up to beyond national speed limit incredibly fast. So ultimately you can get one of these from about £64,000. This one with all the options that are on it, 77. And it's a lot of money, but in monthly terms you're actually looking closer to about £500 or £600 a month, depending on if you want PCP, lease, HP, etc. But the nice thing about this is it really stands out. There are so many electric cars on the market, and this being under the Hyundai Kia group means that the tech that's underneath this is incredibly good. But aesthetically, it steps away from what the other companies are doing. This stands out at the charges. This looks great wherever it goes. And then dynamically, it doesn't drive like a 2.2 ton car in the slightest. And it gives you smiles per mile in straight lines and corners, whilst also being able to return like 3+ miles per kilowatt hour. It doesn't cost a fortune to charge if you're at home. If you use the right charging network, it doesn't cost you much to run on the go. And the range, 280 miles, is achievable in the hot summer if you don't run with aircon. But I would say that with aircon on, you would quite easily see 250 miles, because I think even in the winter, with the heat on, I would probably see about 240 miles. Aesthetically, I like this. The drive is fantastic. The interior is comfortable. And from a family practicality point of view, I just think this ticks a lot of boxes. And I'm going to say, and this is going to generate a lot of hate, that I think that this is by far above anything Tesla are doing. Because, okay, cool, you can have extra tech and a bit better economy, and that's kind of all they have going for them. But the aesthetics, the quality, the interior, this has it in bundles above anything they are doing. So to answer the title to this video, better than a Tesla? Yes, definitely better than a Tesla.